Hello and welcome to the full 80 minutes on Show Me the Money Rugby League TV. If only we were rolling the camera for the last 5 minutes. We've had quite a few jokes and laughs, and it's good to be back. It's good to be back. Before we get into it, just quickly, how is everybody? Me, myself personally, very, very good news last week, because I firmly believe in this IMG era and we're going to focus on it. What are you laughing at, Joe? What's funny?
Did nothing but slaughter IMG for 3 years, Mick. What's changed?
What's changed?
You're not hearing me out. I have not slaughtered IMG. I have said some good things about IMG in terms of raising the standards and clubs investing in facilities. And the fact that last week you had effectively 4 clubs, Bradford, London, Toulouse and York, all going for free spots speaks volumes that it has raised the standards to the point where you have big city clubs, big rugby league names, all fighting for a place in that newly expanded Super League.
Bradford.
The point I was trying to say about the good news was I just felt that with everybody having an opinion and a voice on what was going to happen or what may happen, when you look at the championship season gone and the amount of comments and, like I say, everyone must have had maybe 3 or 4 different opinions on what was going to happen or what should happen. But the overriding comment that I saw was it should be on field performance. It should be on merit. There should be no claw coming down and picking clubs up and putting them in through the back door. And when on the face of it, you look at the top 3 consistent teams in the championship, York, Toulouse, Bradford, very little between those 3 teams, all separated by 2 points come season's end. You have got the 3 most consistent championship clubs.
Two of them did make the championship final, to be fair.
No, but what I'm saying is, if you are going off table, which everybody said, over a gruelling 26-round championship season, the top 3, the best 3 clubs in the championship are in the Super League. So, that for mine answers a lot of those critics who have said it should be on field performance, it should be merits. Anyway, look, I was going to say, how is everybody? It's good to be back.
Well, back again, Mick. Yes, it's marvellous to hear from you. I know it's a very happy time for you, Mick. You finally got the Super League voodoo back. When it happened, Mick, if you just mentioned it, you were quite emotional on the WhatsApp at first, but I could feel through the phone how emotional. And what a journey for you personally, because you've to be fair to you, whatever your faults are, you're very loyal to that fan base. You're very loyal to that club. So good on you, because you're what sometimes rugby league needs. So you can be outspoken, Michael. We all know that. But you've been a real Bulls supporter all the way through, and you're back to where you belong.
I'm a rugby league supporter.
Yeah, you are, but you are. Like, take your camouflage off. You love Bulls. You love Bulls.
Bradford are the club I work for, yes.
Of course.
So, of course, there will always be a pro-Bradford element.
But you've said on previous shows, that's where your dad ashes are in the corner.
Oh, 100%.
My some of the emotional
ashes, my dad's ashes are all on the field.
We're going to put your ashes right in that corner. Well, I'm not going to say what I think it was.
I've already said I would like to, when the time comes and those hitmen that have been ordered to... Crikey, we're taking this show in a very dark...
No, it's a lovely thing that was quite emotional for you.
A lovely thing, my ashes being on the Odsel.
Well, no. I'm saying to
maybe
you...
Maybe in 40 years' time.
It's fantastic. I don't think you should be scared of showing how much... You Bradford have been through a rift. But what? As a Bradford supporter, let's be honest, we have a bit of stick. I'm not sure how it all works. Mick Val's a bit more technical than me on that. I don't portray it. To be honest, at times, but I just clock off. Because if someone I think's not corrupt, but if I think something's like that, I don't know how many times I can keep watching it, because I think, oh God, how has it been done? And one thing for sure, we've got Bradford back in. Them supporters don't deserve to how they've been treated the last 15, 18 years. They've been bagged at, I suppose it's a bit like Manchester United, Man City. If you're a Man City fan for 20 years, it's the worst job in the world. You're then now and then you're a Man United fan. If you were born in, say, 1990, whatever it was, 2004, you're then having a nightmare. You've got 15 years of being the worst gig in the world, a bit like Liverpool. Suddenly now, Bradford are back in. If you've been a Bradford supporter for the last 16 years, it's not been a great gig, has it?
Well, like I say, Craig, ultimately this has been a number of years in the making. There's been a lot of hard work behind the scenes and in such a short space as well, to be honest, because it was only 2022 when Bradford had that 9th place finish with John Keir and Mark Dunning. And, I'll be honest, that was probably one of the toughest seasons for me personally, having to commentate and report on Bradford Bulls. I never felt as much detached and abandonment towards a club very close to my heart, because there was a group of players there who simply did not care about the club and its values, and that contributed to that 9th place finish. And fundamentally, Jason Hurst, who is a volunteer CEO, and let me tell you, as I've posted a few times on social media, a lot of people who watch this who are Super League fans won't realise who Jason Hurst is, but he took early retirement, and the sort of selfless commitment that he's put in. He's a giant of a man, he's got that humility, that empathy, and the people that he's brought into that club and all that hard work and undertaking. And for all these people that criticise this person was in charge at the club and this has happened, well, since March of this year, the ownership group of Paul Wilde, Nathan Varley, Simon Tidswell, Philip Sharp, they're all...
Is Nigel off that now?
Nigel's been off it for a year, Craig.
Wow.
So what I'm saying is...
Oh, you'd have had to get off before it...
Yeah, so what I'm saying is you've got the 4 co-owners who are all Bradfordians, and they live and breathe Bradford North and Bradford Bulls Rugby League. And
to be fair, sorry to stop you there because I didn't know that. So to be fair...
Well, a lot of people would have,
because... To be fair to Nigel, then he saved the club in a way, coming back in and...
Well, him and Mark Sawyer, yeah. Nigel Wood and the family of Nigel Wood and Mark Sawyer.
Play.
When Andrew Chalmers left the mess, as we all know, I don't want to go in, and we've covered that on the show before, a lot of gratitude has to go to Nigel Wood, his family, and people like Mark Sawyer, Adam Fogarty, who came in and kept Bradford going from going under. Because I always remember that initial press conference at Dewsbury where the club had obviously left Odsall and we'd gone to Dewsbury, and Mark Sawyer was like, the sport of rugby league could not allow Bradford to go under again. It couldn't. So he even felt him as a custodian.
Did you need to own the stadium, Mick, without going underground? Did you need to own the stadium to get the vote?
What vote? I'm not sure what you mean.
the IMG vote. Did you need to?
How many points did
the
you
RFL
get
owned the stadium? How did you get the stadium back? Did you need that to get the vote?
No.
Oh.
Bradford don't have premier tenure, so the big news. Look, I'd have to do a separate show on it to go through every hook, nut and cranny. But if Bradford had won the Championship grand final, they'd be above Hull FC. They would be an A. Wow. If they had primary tenure, they would be above Hull FC. They would be an A. So a lot of people look at this at face value and they look at Odsall, and somebody, like I say, my dad's ashes, my granddad's ashes, they're on the hallowed turf. Odsall in 2025 going into 2026, yes, it is not fit for purpose. No one hides behind that. Jason Hurst says modernisation is coming.
Have them investors got some serious brass because they're going to need it, aren't they?
Yes, and I can't say too much on this show, but for anybody who's criticising Odsall, I'll tell you now, within the next 2 years, it won't look like it does now because there's a lot of redundant land. I can't say too much again, but there'll be some big news in November regarding Odsall and retail units and how...
But you kind of skip past that. How many points does Bradford get for owning its stadium?
Bradford don't. They don't have primary tenure, Joe. They don't because they share it with the Stockcast, so they don't get that.
The benefit of Bradford.
That's true.
They get zero.
Yeah.
So this is the point I'm trying to explain. A lot of people are looking at Odsall and they're like, in terms of getting the maximum, they're nowhere near the maximum on the utilisation because Odsall is one of the bigger championship grounds with the capacity, and Bradford as the biggest supported club in the Championship, getting just under 4,000 fans in there, that absolutely harms them. If Bradford had a 12,000 capacity stadium like the Lee Sports Village or 14,000 like Warrington's, there would be grade A, Craig, because the utilisation score would go through the roof. So when people criticise and have a poke at Bradford, they're not looking at the actual club. They're not looking at the fact that there's 9 teams alongside the first team, like there's a PDRL and LDSL, 2 wheelchair teams, a girls under 19s, a women's team, an academy, a scholarship. What a lot of these trolls, and I'm calling them trolls, and these people who are just posting absolute nonsense and garbage.
What you used to be like.
I've never been like that, Craig. What I'm saying is, what a lot of people don't look at is the bigger picture. Bradford, in terms of the fan base, the digitalisation, the fandom, they're 6th in the table for fans and digital.
Wow. And
as you've seen this week, as you've seen since Thursday or Wednesday afternoon when we all got set the press release, Bradford are back in the Super League. I know some people broke that embargo, which is fine. We always know that's going to be the case. And to be fair, I spoke to the RFL, and you know what the RFL said? They actually said we're kind of glad it kind of broke a day early because it kind of got a lot of the crap and the nonsense, the gutter comments out in the flush. But when you actually look at Bradford, Craig, and a lot of people, they'll look at Odsal, they'll focus on what, that perception of negativeness, but they don't look at the bigger picture. They don't look at the crowds. They don't look at the commercial money coming in. Bradford, one of the few clubs that make a profit, albeit it was 40,000 2 years ago, then 60,000 last year. But that is still a profit in a very challenging landscape. You've only got to look at the losses from what Leeds and St Helens are doing.
We can't go on about the account situation because I think most people know that the accounts can be portrayed in a way to be profitable.
Yeah.
It depends how you do your accounts.
Yeah, but Bradford have paid tax. They have paid tax on the profit. So if you're saying, anyone is manipulating accounts...
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I don't think it's worth going deep into Bradford being profitable.
But the facts are...
while Wigan lose...
The big one on the accounts is that you can put personal loans in, and if you write your personal loan off, then that was like as an investment. That's the one they all fiddle.
And the stadium was...
and that's exactly what Clint's done at York, because if York... the York one's interesting because...
I said let's not get into accounts.
No, you brought it up.
No, I tried to stop it.
All right, well, look, they've all done it. KR, Derek come out with it and said it. Look, I think one thing I'll say is, and I don't really follow too many people because there's that much nonsense and not noise. But,
fake news and stuff.
Yeah, fake news, clickbait and sensationalism. But what I will say is this. Just because the spotlight was on Bradford, where were these people doing it when Hull KR did it last year, when Wakefield did it, when Lee did it, when Castleford did it? So don't come out now and start saying, I can dig a show this time last year where Derek openly put it on his website that, like you said on the finance, Craig, owner investment, putting it down as sponsorship, you can effectively buy AMG.
I'm sure they all did it. I'm sure everyone did it.
Yeah. I think the best way to summarise is
IMG is not fit for purpose in the grading and the criteria.
I think
it is open.
I'm going to challenge that. It is actually, because let's just say that investor leaves that as a personal loan. That's always on the club for the next 20 years.
Yes.
What they forced him to do is brilliant. They're forced him to say, no. Put it as a personal loan, which all directors do, but you've lost it. So whoever comes to take the club on after them hasn't got, like they did at Featherstone, £2 million worth of personal loans.
Yes.
It's never your club, because that £2 million got to be paid off. So actually IMG's genius. Because all these people who've left it in and they've claimed against the tax at the end of the year and they've done this, they can't do it. They've actually got to go. I actually quite like it.
Well, the famous one last year when Derek and Matt Ellis and... Neil Udgell at Hull KR were in rugby league circles, our circles, were saying that this is what was going on and this is how they're going to go from 12 points like Castleford, Lee, Wakefield to Grade A's, which they all did, was by, like you say. So I thought, IMG, Matt Dwyer, here we go, president. I said, how can this be right? And Matt Dwyer came back and basically said, he's not going to, IMG aren't going to stop owners writing blank cheques and disguising that as commercial sponsorship. And because the thing is, Derek puts 700 grand in and says, right, that's sponsorship, boom, we're Grade A. Matt Ellis does it. Martin Jepson at Cass clearly has done it. He's already come out and said that they had to do that to get a Grade A.
There's no wrong with it. That's brilliant.
But they can't take that money out. Matt Dwyer at IMG said they can't take that money out. So,
that's what Chris
and that makes Matt Dwyer the president of IMG and the rugby league side of things, it makes their job easier because, like he said to me, IMG are then not under any pressure whatsoever to go to Sky and try and get the TV deal up while they've got all these owners putting the money in.
This isn't the one people are arguing about, Mick. I'm not arguing. I don't know why we've got down that road. The one that I find funny is the IMG laws. I think it is fit for purpose if the laws state what the markers are, such as permanent stands, permanent structures in place. They have to be proven week in, week out, game on game. Where a lot of clubs, not mentioning certain ones, Mick, have put them on for one game, took the photo and then claimed them points, saying, they've been under maintenance. They will be there, but they're under maintenance.
Well, the clubs that have done that have played the game. And
they have.
Last season in Super League, I won't name the Super League club, but they had LED boards and the big screening for just one game when IMG came to visit. And, that's all you need to know.
But Mick, that's again. But
that's so trivial because having a big screen.
Let me finish.
Having a big screen is only worth 0.125. So
at the end of the day, when there's rules, you'll find clever people to get around them. So it's life. Unfortunately, it's life. If you put a rule book up of 15, Rugby League has 25,000 rules how to play Rugby League. We break about 90% of them. We have coaches looking to break that rule. This play at ball. That's the game. That's life. Unfortunately, it's life skill. Bottom line is Bradford are in, we're all happy. York, I was so passionate about York, and I know this is,
There's no rivalry between me and York. I think York have been a very consistent championship side.
You say that now.
2 of the last 3 years.
Mick, I've got to call you out on this one.
I'm doing this independently of anything. So I'm doing
right
this
in this moment, but not for the last 12 months. When
Sam, have you been on that WhatsApp? Has Mick been independent towards York?
It's the RFL's choice to use that. IMG still are only a consultant, so everyone needs to remember they have kept with IMG's system by choice because they're happy with it. Like any system, all the clubs or a lot of clubs have been able to work the system, and Bradford have been brilliant at it. That is the most, diplomatic way of describing the situation. Other clubs, as we saw a week or 2 ago, have very obviously tried to play the system, and it's so obvious with some stats.
Well, don't just mention Bradford. York have played the system. Toulouse have played the system.
I'm saying Bradford have worked extremely hard and done extremely well to get their points up because the system allows that. Other clubs have done the same. We saw stats on social media followers the other week. One club's increase was so suspicious, you don't even need to see anything or hear anything else about that. And everyone has tried to do it. I've had clubs say to me, we are confident that if we did one thing or got one thing, we could then access 2 other points like that. And all systems, they're not foolproof. And it's up to, over time, the governing body to play around with this non-foolproof system and make sure it can't be abused as much as it probably has been. And that's going to take a bit of time. The question is, do they stick with it for the long term and make this system better and better year on year? Or do they eventually just say, that's a bit too easy to manipulate, so we can't keep with it? And that's the only question. Yeah, I don't think there's an awful lot more to it.
I think we're all, listen, beyond it all, Toulouse, York, Bradford, I'm happy. I'll be honest with you.
That was going to be my next question.
It wants to be me 3.
Are you happy though that they've got the correct 3 in?
100%. And we don't give Toulouse enough because I haven't got enough knowledge on Toulouse. You will have more.
Yeah, I can answer for Toulouse.
I think it's fantastic. I think the French, who have been castrised at times and said that they don't offer nothing to the comp, well, we're going to see now. We're going to have a derby, Super League derby. We're going to have all the things that we've all dreamt about. If it's true about the funding, they're up against it. Let's be honest, they're up against it. If it's true Bradford have got the funding, the other 2 haven't.
No, it's
No,
true.
they've announced.
God help the other two. God help the
Craig,
other.
they've got funding.
They've announced
Toulouse and
they've
York have got funding.
funding, yeah.
That's what I meant. Sorry, funding.
Which
That's
is
going to be
better than
so hard.
expected,
That's going to be so
I've
hard.
heard
But
it's
don't
worse.
just
I've
make-
heard it's
but-
worse than expected.
But again,
No, I
don't
didn't
just
expect that.
because Bradford have gone in 10th. Look at the 12th place club, Huddersfield.
Yeah.
Castleford. Should they get?
Right, I'm saying the
that's what I'm trying to say.
the two lads who are going to have to fund 50% more than
Yeah.
what Bradford are coming up, which is so hard to come up a division. And I said last week, Mick, all I want is, and I said this to you, Joe, Jimmy.
It should be a level playing field.
I don't want the bottom three to be them three clubs. If it is, and we don't give them at least 3 years to build, well we're idiots. We're back down the Toronto thing. The nightmares are going to happen again. If we don't give these clubs, they all finish bottom three next year, and then we say, oh, you're relegated. We have just dropped the biggest clanger of all time, because you definitely may as well go promotion relegation then, and pray to God that each one of them clubs find a billionaire so we can come in and smash some money in and do it that way, which is what football do. They come up at football and they go bump, 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 and then they're looking at the transfer market, so then when they go down they can sell £100 million worth of players, and they start again, this process starts again. You look at Forest, it's a cycle. I hope they give them 3 years.
Yeah.
Pray to God they give them
Or
3
at
years,
least
because if not, why are they doing it? Why are we even doing
And
this?
it's a double-edged
It's
sword.
not that exciting bringing them up when everyone's going to go, oh my God, we've got Bradford for 1 year. No, you probably need Bradford to build again, and Toulouse to build, and York certainly need time to build, because they've never been there. This is new ground, so.
And the double-edged sword part of it is, if we look at football, often teams who get promoted from, any sport, if they get promoted, inevitably, 19 times out of 20, they're going to struggle to escape the relegation zone. But at least when you've got a league, which means that if you're let's take football, if you're top 2 in the championship, you're promoted. So a team can aim for that, plan for that, and they've got longer to recruit. And what's made it really hard for these 3 clubs is they've only had confirmation of Super League status last week, when, would we agree, 90 to 95% of recruitment for next year is probably being done, and it makes it even harder for them to recruit.
I've heard it shocking today, Jim, on that basis, that they're going to take they give it the 12 months where you can deal with a player 12 months before. The clubs have asked for it to be taken to March.
Oh, back to March and not December the 1st.
Which is, I think, is horrendous. And somebody said to me last night, I said, well, you put CEOs in a room discussing something which half of them aren't going to club at. How they've not got an agent's representation in that room is beyond me. The most important person in that process is an agent.
Correct.
So have they not got, even if it's Graham, I say to us, I'll put Graham Taylor or a Jimmy type, but we'll debate. You want people, no, you will, that's not having a go. I'm saying you want people who are quite high at that and can debate that situation and sit there. Joe could do it, where you've got a lot of facts and you put it in. I'd be no good, because I'm just going to walk in and go, this is just absolute bollocks. You've got to give the players 12 months. How can you not? It's so hard to get a deal. Give us as much notice as you can, because some of these kids have got mortgages, they've got families, they've got, this is crazy. You shortening that window is horrendous. I can see it though. I can see the 12 people in the room going, yeah, we need...
and what's the benefit, Craig? I know you've obviously...
Well, the benefit for a player is certainly you get more time. It's so hard. If you've got a player coming out of contract, which we might have each year, let's say we've got 300 players, we've got 40 coming out of contract. If we can deal up 12 months before, it's massive for us.
You get a head start, yeah.
People have said, allegedly, that you do it anyway. That's just the way it is. To say a waste of time is saying close that window. I don't know what actually they think from the club side it enables them to do. I can't get that many positives. I just don't get it. Now you've got the relegation and the clubs going up and down. We need as much notice as we can, because like Bradford now, York, let's be honest, Toulouse. Would Toulouse keeping the same side, because I entered the signing.
Well, I was on the press call
today.
I was on the...
That side has just finished its championship and finishing bottom.
But let me finish my point.
I'll answer Toulouse in a minute.
Let me finish just the point I'm saying. So the recruitment's going to be really difficult, because we've not got much time and the player pool is smaller. And they've increased... they increased the overseas quota to 10, snuck that through a few months when all this was building, which was probably going to be beneficial to some of these clubs. But for me, the far bigger decision than which clubs they've allowed to go up is whether there's promotion and relegation, because we saw it with London. If a club's going up, but that was extreme because they knew they couldn't stay up. But these clubs, I totally agree with Craig that they need at least a 2-year cushion to protect them, to give them chance to build. Otherwise, if that trapdoor is really real, that could easily hold investment back and say it's not worth us going all in, because if then we drop down, the club could be gone. So then they might get a bit tentative about how much they invest. If they're protected, then it gives a real chance for them to build. And if after 2 years, one of them has failed or another club has failed and they've been, however they work it out, the weakest team, and another club like Oldham, Widnes, Doncaster, Sheffield, London are ready to take the place, then that's how it should work, and the process should be really thorough and really carefully done. The flip side of that is, how long are the Aussies at London willing to wait? If you're saying it needs to be 3 years, do they say, we're not hanging around for 3 years? Next year, yeah, we're in. We will build this year. We will blitz the championship this year if the doors open next year. So we're getting to this situation where this decision on promotion and relegation, and if they go for it, how many clubs do they let up? How many do they drop down? Is way bigger than which one's gone up. Because let's be honest, Bradford has spent 15 odd years trying to get back. York have been building for years to get in.
11 on Bradford.
Toulouse have spent...
Last 3.
5.
They were in 22.
Yeah, but I'm saying that their whole process, when they got in, they would have loved a chance to say, don't worry, you've got 2 years to build. And I'm convinced they would have done. And they probably would be a mid-table Super League team now, but they got trapped out straight away. So these clubs who have been building and building, if they drop down again after 1 year at it, then all this was a waste of time, because they'll be in a worse position if they drop down.
Totally agree.
The only model you can do it on that is simple, isn't it? It's the NRL model, where they just keep adding.
On.
And that's what you've got to do. The representation should be voting, saying, no, we don't want to lose them. Can we get a team like London, and we're now going to be allowed to come in and add to that comp? We should call it add to the comp. Yeah. NRL do it lovely. They don't lose a club. They add to the comp, and they say, I think that's the only way we can do it. We've got to give them a window, and if that's a 3-year window, but don't be scared of letting London. If London make that much rapid progress, and they've got the financial backing, are you mad? Just add it. It's stupid. It's not even a question.
Well, and that's how it should. That's how it should be. It should be discussed that it doesn't have to be there's promotion or relegation. It could be that there's just promotion. You know, and the clubs should have 2 or 3 years before they even discuss dropping them back out again. And Oldham at the moment, it links in, me and Joe were talking about it yesterday. Oldham are in a situation now, they went big last year. They were the top few spenders of the championship. They were probably the ones that were getting mentioned outside of the Toulouse, York, London, Bradford, who had a real chance as an outsider, and that's all they were. But they're in a situation now where their budget for next year could be double or half what it was for the previous year. And they're not going to go big until they know that the door's open and how soon that door's going to be open.
Unless I'm sure that you lads will know better than me, but unless you make the championship so brilliant at the moment, I think we cheapen the championship a little bit. I think we don't talk about it. No, I just think that we don't have it as a massive comp, and we should be proud of that.
It's impossible to have it as a. There's not enough fans of rugby league, and that's said as a.
Well, that's it then.
But it's impossible.
I'll be honest. There is fans. I think you're wrong there, John. I'm going to challenge that. I think there is fans who prefer that product to the Super League.
Yeah, not
this
enough
lad here said it.
Not enough to.
Whether he turns coat now and just changes it. Whether he turns coat, you've always said you'd rather watch.
There's not a lot. There's not a lot in terms of
numbers. Is the
100,000
on a weekend?
No.
There's not 100,000 in Super League, Craig.
No, it means combined. It means combined.
Oh, combined.
How many fans? So it average 3,000 how many clubs?
No, Champ and League One will average 40,000 all in.
On Champ 1 and Champ together?
50, 60,000 all in.
In Super League, there's six games, and if you average that at say 12,000, you're talking 80,000.
So Champ 1 and Champ, how many teams?
Champ 1 and Champ 2, let's call it 20 teams.
I don't know why we're arguing about this.
20 teams, you're probably talking at most, probably like Joe said, 40.
Yeah, there's
Right.
not enough to sustain a comp.
on a weekly basis.
The comp's sustained
There's not
on benefactors who, I said, brought up in a club, the Andy Mazeys, who love Rochdale, love the rugby league community, or the Oldham and potentially one or two others that we might hear
Well, I'm
about
going to challenge it. I'm going to
to
challenge the sport on that. Then I think that's bollocks. I think that they should make that competition,
It's impossible.
rebrand it, and I think they should get. We've just said.
Well,
for
this
years,
is the merger. That's the
we've
whole
said for
point of
years
the
the
merger.
TV. There's no TV. We don't capture audiences to go and watch Championship Rugby because they don't have their own platform. They don't have their own anything.
Well,
So
that's
I'd
what's
probably-
happened this year with Bradford. We have live streamed our games, and I've already been. I can't tell you some of the clubs, but obviously they've spoken to me already, and these are the Championship clubs. Bradford are going to be in Super League. Yes, you're going to be doing a lot of Thursdays, Fridays, Saturdays, Sunday afternoon. If it doesn't clash with Bradford, we're booking you, Mick, and you're doing our live stream. So when you said to me, am I turning turncoat and saying bye-bye to the Championship? I'm not. I'm probably going to cover more Championship. In fact, next season,
More variety.
next
It's more-
season,
I'm not bothered
next
about that. It's
season,
the
Craig,
brand of rugby which you've said. You
I prefer
let me
Championship
finish.
to Super
You
League,
called
yes.
it blowout rugby. That's what you put on our group 100 times.
100%.
I can't watch this shit blowout rugby.
100%. I have turned off
Well,
more
you could-
Super League games.
next year you
no, hear
could
me
be the
out. Hear
biggest
me out.
blowout
Hear me
club.
out. This season just gone, it is factually correct. I have admitted to turning off more Super League games than ever because I do not want to watch Huddersfield, Castleford, Warrington, Salford getting pumped by 30,
What do you think
40.
you'll do? Going to Wigan.
Well, imagine how bad it's going to be for me when I've got to do 30 minutes pre-match, commentate on it, and then I've got to go interview Kurt Aggie
Will you call
afterwards.
it blowout rugby?
If Bradford go to Wigan, and I'm not saying they are, but if Bradford or York or Toulouse go to Wigan and get pumped by 50, 60, 70, which is not within the realms of improbability, then yes, I will open and honestly discuss on this show, on my platforms, that is not good for Super League blowout.
We've got to
rugby.
accept that this is a transition period. We're extending the league, which is a good thing, providing these teams can somehow, at the death, produce a squad that can compete. It's near impossible challenge. That's why this year there shouldn't be so much an attention on York, Toulouse and Bradford getting pasted every other week because it's inevitable. They can do the best, but it's inevitable. They're looking at trying to compete with the Huddersfields, the Castleford,
your Warringtons, your Catalans,
potentially other teams who have a poor year, and that's fine. The most important year for these newly promoted teams for me should be 2027 and 2028 if they are allowed that time. If they are still getting peppered by 50 every other week in 2028, then they have not taken their opportunity at the big time, and their position needs to be looked at.
Yeah.
And if there's someone else waiting who is going to get an opportunity and do what Lee did, and Lee and Wakefield have shown what you need to do. It's serious investment, and it's arguably, would you say, the two best clubs at recruiting over the last few years. I know OKR have done it differently, but let's leave them out of it. Wakefield and Lee would arguably be...
Yeah, Chesney and Steve Mills have done the best jobs, you'd say.
And that's when we start talking about, well, who is the most important signing for York, Toulouse and Bradford? And it's going to be director of recruitment, head of rugby. Who's going to look at who do we need to recruit for 2027 and 2028, get a plan in process, because if we don't and we're at bottom, you're going to get hammered, and rightly so to an extent, but
You'd
not
like the
next
chance,
year.
wouldn't you?
Not next year.
Doing what we do for a living, this is a weird thing, and one day we can properly debate it. I've said this a long time. The only person who could probably do that at a club would be an agent would have a good thing. This is why Bleasy's probably been good. This is why, I think some of them, when they get him, I can understand why they do it. Because I do believe that the skills needed for that job, an agent who was active, sorry, I'll use that word, active, which means watching a load of games, feeding information, know how to negotiate, know how to develop, know how the full picture would be. If somebody said to me now, would you fancy having to go at York's budget, Toulouse budget? Would I give anything in my life to prove that you could do it?
Yeah.
Would I want 12 months? 100%. Would I like to know only probably June this year? Yes, yeah. But could you still do it? 100%, because you can put more hours in than what a CEO does in 2 years doing it.
Yeah.
Literally, you could sit down in a week and do more than what they do in a year, because no offence to them, it's not their job. And historically, they've done it. Coaches don't spend any time. It's the biggest. How long have you been in game now?
6 years.
How long have you been in game?
With you, 12.
How many times have you really sat down and a coach has blown your mind off with ID and talent?
In 10 years?
Yeah.
Less than 10.
Yeah, a couple, 3 or 4 times, yeah.
But historically, this is run by CEOs and coaches. How many times has a CEO blew your legs off and you've gone, wow, he's on it?
Less than 5.
Twice, once.
So the myth is that 90% of the time the agent is doing that. You're producing that player, you're pushing that deal, you're saying the value, you're saying what you think of the player. They're the yes or no merchants. They don't do that. This is what I'm saying. It's such a thing. We blew 200 million of Sky's money, I'm telling you, on people who couldn't recruit anything, wouldn't have a clue. But we kept blowing it. When we were in that big 2 million a year, we were just blowing it, and the product should have been better because they've had the money. They're now sussing it that the Steve Mills of this world are worth millions to the game because they can thread a needle, they can recruit players. I think somebody said, yes, how's that Steve Mills got 5 of them players playing every week? I've never heard of him. Means he's good at his job.
Yeah.
And Chesley done the same.
We've always said,
was Chesley responsible for Lee's signings in the championship?
Yeah, all of them. Yeah.
Yeah, Papenko and all that.
Yeah. So
that was a brilliant.
Yeah. We give you give a lot of credit for that type of thing. Your problem with a lot of these is it will be done by the CEOs. Would you say Clint's a bit different? I'd give Clint some toffee on this. He'll have a go, won't he? And he'll do his homework.
Yeah, he likes to be a big part of recruitment.
Well, he does other recruitment.
No doubt about it. And you've got to respect.
No, I think what you like about Clint is that he trusts the agent. He's got a friendship. I don't think Clint does loads.
I does.
I don't think he does loads and loads. I think he has a great friendship and he trusts.
Yeah, he does.
He trusts the agent a lot, which is what you've wanted for years. Someone to put trust in, and he has. But I don't think Clint's
100% trust him. But I'm saying to you, I think he's got quite a good knowledge of it himself. I'd say Clint's a little bit different to what I've seen.
He's a student.
You don't get involved with a coach at York on a player.
As much as
you do, they'll be down line, and then in fact, let's be honest. A lot of times they'll say, "Who have we signed?" That's being honest. You can't bullshit.
Mark Applegaff's saying who we signed.
No, Mark Applegaff and York coaches, where Clint's different. His thing's different. He will be told, I'm sure, about the signing. I don't think that Clint, I'm sure, would come out. I'm hoping he would, if he's honourable, and say that he does 99% of the recruiting.
I don't think he has done.
Well, the Aussie recruitment they've done during the season.
I've interviewed Mark Applegaff before York games.
Clint's 100% done 100%.
No, I know what Craig's saying, but Clint's never come out and said he does the.
Oh, Clint's not openly said it.
But I think that if you look at
Mike Rush would do it at Saints. I'll be honest with you. If you want to know the truth, if you don't miss shit house,
it's all about the process.
Mike Rush would do it. Mike Rush would do a lot of the signings at
what is this? Why have we moved on to this? By the way, have we got?
I was saying that just to sum up the original point, as I was saying that these teams need time because realistically, next year is going to be almost impossible, I think, for any of them to come outside the bottom 5, and that's been generous.
Yeah.
So the focus needs to be. So when we're talking about blowout scores, I don't think the focus needs to be on next year. It's going to happen. What we want to see is in 2027 and 2028, 2 or 3 of these new teams have done what Lee and Wakefield have done, and have worked their way up the table to establish themselves. That they don't need to worry about the trapdoor. And all we're talking about is, right, they've all done well. Who's next? Oldham are lining up. London are lining up. Widnes will be lining up. Donny are lining up. Donny are lining up. It's someone else where the CEO has a big part of recruitment. So it's what my thing was for Craig is, if we were to say now, it doesn't matter which of those 3 clubs, but you have got a fair budget for 3 years, you would put your house on that your team, whoever you end up at, with your recruitment now, so over 15, 20 years of it, you would put your house on, I'm pretty sure, that your team will still be in there.
100%.
Yeah.
I'd be one of the top 6.
No.
I don't do it.
Well, there you go. And this is what I feel that, like I say, those clubs, It should be a real solid plan. Hopefully the governing bodies allow them a base to have a longer term plan. So all we're talking about over the next few years is when we go into 16, when we go into 17. Copy the NRL, which we should have started doing 20 years ago, because that's how to do it. And it seems like we're getting there a little bit, and it should all be about trying to build the league up.
It's a funny one, isn't it? You look at next year, you look at Bradford. Let's say Bradford next year. I don't know what your fixture list is. Has it come out what you've got for...
We won't find out for...
Well, he made a big thing this year. Matt Ellis rings me and he's gone, fucking hell, it's in our fixture list. Fucking supposed to be games at a chance. They've put us in top, I think he thought... I think Matt thought it was a bit of a fiddle. He's supposed to give us top 4. So if you're trying to build a club and get a good start, momentum and this new thing, you look up, you've got Leeds, Wigan, Saints... OKR, you go, oh my God, by week 5, we're going to lose 2,000 fans because they're going to go, I'm not coming to watch this every week. This is horrendous. I hope that it's not a fiddle on the fixture, but if it is, please help the bottom 3. Please let them make sure they play each other or they play a cast. They
say fixture list is random, but just on the point of promotion and relegation.
If it is, we've had...
It doesn't need to be random. They can do it, but why not do it?
It does need to be random.
The latest on promotion and relegation is because we had the call with Tony Sutton, who's now departed as the CEO of the Rugby Football League, and obviously his final sort of act inside the sport was on the independent panel to choose York and Toulouse. And, fair play to Lord Kane, Tony Sutton, Abia Kuku and the rest of the independent panel. It was a unanimous decision. Everybody went for York and went for Toulouse. But what we know at this moment in time is there is going to be a big meeting between the clubs and the RFL next month in November. We do know that your championship clubs, Oldham, London, Sheffield, who are spending loads of money, Doncaster, Widner, spoke to Alan Coleman not so long ago, and they're recruiting well. Jordan Abdul,
mentioned Halifax. You seem to mention Halifax. They're great. They had a great year, didn't they?
I've not really. I think the thing with Halifax is
they beat Oldham. They've been money men, didn't they?
Yeah,
but the thing with Halifax,
I think you're on about investing.
The thing with Halifax is they are going to lose Brandon Douglas. They're going to lose Louis Gilfray, Adam Tagata. Woodburn Hall, he's off to France, and I think there's 2 more going to France as well
done a good job
for the money.
Yeah.
So Halifax, as I put out on social media, just quickly on them, it's going to be a total refresh. I think Kyle Eastman's going to get finally his players that he wants to play his brand of rugby, and they had a great season, by the way, last year, above expectations. But what I'm hearing on promotion relegation is the RFL officially said after the announcement on Thursday and a press thing on the Friday morning, it's going to be done on gradings. But when you speak to the clubs, I'm hearing from the championship side, there has to be promotion and relegation. There has to. Because if they stick at gradings for next season, then there's only really going to be Toulouse, York and Salford, depending on what happens with Salford, who are at risk. Because if you look at the current IMG table that got released last week, there's only Toulouse, York and Salford who, in my opinion, are challenging.
Do you mean could swap?
Salford
could potentially.
Salford, if Salford,
London and Oldham, the gap
is too big.
Unless they say, because as it stands, if you're a grade A, you're in. So effectively, the door is open to expand Super League if there was 15 grade A teams. But we're a way away from that, and these parameters could move.
Yeah.
Before we know it, next year you might need 16 points to be great.
So my kind of...
My only scaring me, I'm sorry to put it in, my only scariness me is, this is on my performance. To get the next TV deal, we cannot dilute the product to a stage where we're risking it with 3. We are, let's be honest. I love it.
It's a massive gamble,
we're risking it, but as a product... If we drop the product and we got that on Sky and we're playing every game now, and if we see that, this is why it's so important what these 3 clubs do now.
That's what I'm petrified about.
Right.
I've now been, as you study the teams that are going to be coming into Super League, I am petrified.
So you're petrified of York going to win.
Well, Mick, I'm going to use you as an example. You've absolutely slaughtered 2 or 3 teams in Super League at the bottom end, saying It's not good enough. We can beat them.
I think we can all be brutally honest and admit that certain clubs' recruitment
has had a bad year.
Has been absolutely rotten.
Like I said, so these teams that are coming up, I don't know at the moment, and this is my harsh comment to how the teams are looking. Maybe they sign a few Aussies and it's totally different, but at this moment where they're at, I don't know how any of them are better than Castle and Huddersfield at all.
At this moment in time, you've got Bradford, Toulouse, York, bottom three.
Well, depending on Castle and Huddersfield and what come, I think it's just going to be an extension of that.
No doubt about it. It's all about. But that's going to happen.
I'm not disagreeing or agreeing. I'm asking your opinion.
That's why I keep saying it's about next year.
It is about next year, Jimmy, but that's not the reality.
The bigger picture is we're going to get that Sky deal.
The reality of life is we need to be successful every year as a sport.
But
we can't afford a bad year. If we just write off a bad year, Sky are just going to write us off.
Well, I think the hope, I totally agree with you, but I think that's happening, and they know by putting these teams in the way that they have done, it's going to happen. I think the hope is that there could potentially be a mini division at the bottom of the table where 6 teams, at least you've got 6 teams who will be competing with each other, rather than for this year where we had Salford getting blitzed and Cass getting blitzed for a period. And over time, that will change. There's enough at the lower level. And you'll tell me, because you know more than me, the NRL, which is now expanded to a great number of teams compared to Super League, there's still an awful lot of blowout scores in that
There is,
division.
but it's fairly random. There's obviously the teams who win more often, but the bottom to the top is not that big. Yeah. It's not where in our league we're going to add another 3 teams to the bottom of our league, which has a massive difference to the top 3 in our league, which means who's going to be bothered, not the fan of the team, but who's going to be bothered as a fan of just rugby league of watching Bradford v Cass play. Probably not many if they're both
This is the big thing here. Some businesses go from bottom to top. Some businesses, as they've done at the RFL, historically sometimes said, no, let's start at the top. I probably had 20 years watching it. I probably would now. I'm a big grassroots man, but I must admit now, I'd sometimes would start at the top, which means if we beat the Aussies in a 3-test series with the most fans we've had in this country watching international rugby in the last 25 years, this is it. If we get 60,000 at Wembley, we get Everton sold out, Headingley obviously, but more importantly, that social media where my Insta at the moment is blowing up on Test match. Andy Farrell's done more for us. Andy Farrell's done more for us than anybody else. Him just saying how excited he is, and with his back, you ever talk to Irish people now about Andy Farrell? He's like God. This is Jack Charlton. This is God. So Andy Farrell's got on all these spots. When I made my debut, it's amazing. Everybody's talking about it. They've done us a massive favour. The rugby union lads on that podcast in pumping it. So you get this, we beat Aussies this week, right? We win 2-1 Test matches at Headingley, we win decide. It is gone off the scale. We've got a period of time to capture that audience.
So
going into a season then, when they go out, we need to be saying, these are all our fixtures. You can watch Rugby League in the UK at all these places, which we could have done with London after World Cup, if I'm being honest, after this Test match. But anyway, we're going in there, let's go, you can watch your game. What we can't do then is to then watch the game and it's shit. And it's nowhere near what they're watching, and they're going, fuck it, this is a million miles away from what we've just watched. You're probably better off, and I never thought I'd hear this, but this year for me will be massive. I'm going to give it every chance. If it's bad, I'd rather go to 10 quality teams or 8 and do it the other way.
I don't think you can.
And I never thought I'd say that, but I'd probably play.
I think it's hard to judge on this.
Yeah, but I'm saying about 2 years.
Yeah, but it is
Let me tell
hard to
you,
judge, but that's
I'd
the
rather do
reality
that
of
and
what
sell
it is.
the
We shouldn't
deal,
judge
sell
it,
the
but
deal
we've
to the
got to.
TV.
We've got to.
I'd rather sell to the TV deal top quality.
Of course.
Right? And then we go, that is top quality. Our international game's up and running. Let's sell that as an Origin. Origin makes more than we do in 3 games.
Yeah, it's
that higher quality.
The pinnacle of rugby league. Yeah.
Willie Mason yesterday said something again for our sport, which is amazing. He said, "Get ready, Aussies. You are in." He goes, "All these things saying Origin." He goes, "Mate, this is 20% better than Origin." Now that does everybody who talks shit in our country. Because we just down our head. We down our head. Oh, it's not Origin, it's not Origin. He's just told you. One of the best guys who's played every standard says, "Mate, Reece Fortune's going to get his head smashed off from every angle. The fans are going to be giving it. They're selling it better than us.
Yeah, that's great.
It's massive. We will get the next TV deal maybe if we do it right over there. We need to be looking at all angles, I'm telling you. And that's hopefully why they're putting for London. That's hopefully why we're saying, get showing this over here where we've got 20 million people watching Rugby League. We would watch Rugby League 7 days a week, right?
It won't help the game that London, so NRL and all the posts have been saying London Arena.
But at least they're talking about it, and next year if we get in. What I'm saying is, we've got to get that product big, and if it means in 2 years' time you're saying 2 or 3, whatever it is, I can't watch it.
No, but you just remember this, Matt. If you're saying,
I agree.
What I don't agree with is just give it 1 year. I'm hoping that
we said that at the start, yeah.
the TV deal will be sold as a 3-year, 4-year, 5-year deal, and it will be.
That's not how business works. It's year on year.
No. The next TV deal, I don't think will be a 1-year deal. They'll be looking at doing a free.
You can't do a 1-year deal.
Well, there you go. So I'm saying, if I'm selling you as the TV director, executive, whatever the product, I'm talking about what this will be and how it will grow year on year. Next year, there will be some blowout scores. Like in every sporting league in the world, we're going to have to ride it because we guarantee you the year after this is going to happen and this is going to happen. Look what the NRL have done. This is what we're.
Has Sky ever showed that patience in us? No, I don't think
3-year deal. But we're talking about getting. If it's not Sky, it's going to be. We're talking 5 years, so it doesn't have to deliver.
5 years.
Yeah, we've always done 10-year deals, 5-year deals.
The last one was a year and a half.
It was an extension. But I'm saying, well, just for argument's sake,
Sky put Rugby League on notice.
Yeah,
for argument's sake, they're looking at, and it might be Sky, it might not be Sky, a longish term deal. So sell the product over that period. If we jump back after 1 year of Bradford, Toulouse, York getting hammered week in, week out, or most weeks, and go, that's not worked, go back to 10. Then we're in the situation, well, 10, we need loop fixtures. Loop fixtures have been one of the biggest problems in trying to get good deals because we've got 4 repeated, if not 5, including cup repeated fixtures every year. And we're back to square one again.
I'll be honest with you, I don't think I could loop. I think I'm hoping this works. So take my hat off, I would get 3-year with
Obviously, yeah.
If it doesn't, I don't think we'll loop. I think we'd be more international. I think in time to come, we'd probably try and nip into a World Club.
Yeah, we'd have to create
Club
that
8 tournament, whatever, in Dubai in Australia.
Do what the Champions League.
You heard all the stuff about this 360 club are coming in. This is going to rock the boat. I know Peter Vlandis put a 10-year ban on anybody going. But the Players Union in Australia are massive and they are going to challenge it, right? So get ready for the biggest court case in rugby league history because the players in Oz run the power. DC is the most powerful man who was the head of the Players Association. They've got 100 million in a pot and they've gone. He's come out and said it's a restraint of earnings. And if they get that passed, players can go. What Munster said this morning is, I agree if you're in contract, you shouldn't. But if you're out of contract, how can you not talk to who you want? That's what they'll pass it as.
It's like live golf, isn't it?
It's going to be massive.
Like
so the options.
So.
But as a whole, I hope we do it. I'm just scared. I am scared. From a recruiting point of view, Mick, I look at the Bradford signings every day. This is me being honest. I look at what York are throwing, and I don't get to know Toulouse. For some reason, I don't see Toulouse.
Let me just give you a quick 2 minutes on Toulouse. So we were, obviously, me and Cedric, me and Sylvan, very close working and friendship. So when you look at Toulouse, and this is just my opinion based on covering Toulouse for the last 6-7 years in the Championship, Toulouse are probably the most equipped out of Bradford and York and themselves to actually thrive and maybe, because the playoffs is a top 8, maybe make the playoffs, upset the apple cart, because they are already a full-time team. You know, they already have, you know, a plethora of stars who, like Ollie Asholbot, for instance, who I think can absolutely, you know, rip it up in the Super League. Now, because they're already full-time, Craig, and they've already got that culture and that, what I class as that superiority in terms of fitness levels, intensity levels. They've got the former defence coach from Penrith Panthers there, which is why Toulouse very, very rarely, you will not see them get beaten heavily. You very rarely see it. Over the last 3 or 4 years, they don't get beaten heavily because of their fitness, their defences, and being a top championship club. So like Joe said this morning, Brendan Hans, for instance, he was already on loan from Parramatta Eels. You mentioned on the Inside the Deal show, Jez Litton, 80 minutes. Brendan Hans, he can do 80 minutes for Toulouse. He keeps Baptiste Rodriguez out most weeks. Toulouse are going to go for a couple in the NRL. There's a couple of Super League, I'm being told, that are coming. I think Toulouse on a whole, it's fantastic for the British game. And I know I get a load of crap from trolls and bullies and, it comes with the territory. But one thing I thought, and I felt for Toulouse, was if you go back to, and this is me offering some personal insight here, you go back to April, May time, and I know at the minute it's a buzzword, clickbait and sensationalism. It's like you said, Jimmy, it's always existed in journalism. It always will. It's never going to go. But if you think back to April and May, there were all these stories. Big nasty Nigels going back to the RFL. Catalans are going to be kicked out. Toulouse are going to be kicked out. You all read, we did a show on it. You all read them articles from certain journalists. And I called it out as clickbait. And everybody was like attacking me for calling it out as clickbait. I've been proven to be correct because, again, when I spoke to Cedric on Friday, were you ever under any assumption Big Nasty Nigel was going to come in and kick Toulouse and Catalans out? And Cedric, just like he did an interview with me back in May, he said no. He says Nigel has met Cedric, he's met Bernard at Catalans. They want to grow the pie, and the only way they can grow that pie is by having a French derby, Catalans Toulouse.
For what, mate? What are you? I don't get it. What will they offer the comp by having a French derby? They don't still have Sky. They don't have Sky.
No. They bring in the French deal, which then adds greater.
What deal?
Well, this is the thing. There is no deal at this moment, but this is the hope. This is what I'm trying to say to you. This is what I'm trying to say to you. They are the potential of BN Sports or
Rugby League's favourite word.
Coming in.
Potential.
But the point I'm trying to make, Craig, is Toulouse, best placed in my opinion, to have a real dig, a real go. Sylvain Houlays is the longest serving head coach out of any club.
Do you think?
They need 10. I
get the full time argument, but from what I saw in the grand final and the couple, I've not, like I said, you've watched it a lot more, so I'm not disagreeing with you. But from what I saw, I've not seen there anywhere close to competing with anyone other than from last year's teams, Castle Huddersfield.
Yeah, I think Joe. Mick, if you go this,
I am not saying Toulouse are going to be uprooting trees, but in my opinion, they are best placed.
With 10 signings, he's on about if you sign a few NRL.
They've decided an NRL player. They've decided
they had him in the final. Anyway.
Yeah, but it was on loan, but they're now signing NRL players. This is what I'm saying. The NRL players are coming.
Him, they had him.
We need to see Toulouse sign 10 top
Your problem
players
is getting it. I think that's great what you said about full time. That's the best point I've heard today. I think you're right. They have got the best chance of the other two.
I'm backing Toulouse to finish higher than Bradford and York next year.
That's easy. We aren't being rude here. That I agree. That's a good statement. It's not a risky statement.
But I'm also predicting Toulouse to finish above Huddersfield and Castleford.
Now that's a good.
There we go.
That is based on what Toulouse are signing, what the players that I know are coming in, the full-time argument, the facts they are very formidable at the Stade Ernest Wallon. And again, there's been clickbait saying they're going to move and do this. Cedric put all that to rubbish on Friday when we spoke with the RFL Zoom call. They are staying at the Stade Ernest Wallon. And I say this every time Bradford go, when we go on the radio commentaries, the live streams, that pitch, it is 118 metres from in-goal to in-goal and 72 metres wide.
Yeah.
That is bigger than Wembley. There's a lot of space, don't get me wrong. Your Bevan French,
everyone keeps asking me, I need to ask you this. I get 50 texts a week of people saying, surely they're not going to have that small goal area.
Again, Craig, next month you'll have the answer. But improvements are coming to Odsal.
We'll have the answer.
Improvements are coming to Odsal.
I know, but I mean, that's the big one, isn't it? Seemingly, that seems to be an itchy subject that Bradford are capable of.
The pitch is that tiny that it supports a brand of rugby that isn't attractive.
I don't disagree. And I think Haggerty...
If you look at NRL now, every pitch in NRL is 5 metres wider. We always say, why is our TV more thing? And I keep saying to them, look at the size of the pitch. It's easy. When you've got more space to run into, there'll be more exciting rugby. Bradford's is going to go.
The famous one was last year when Bradford beat Castleford in the cup, and then Matt Peat, when Draw were coming, he's like, I don't fancy going. Oh, you know it, Craig. Matt Peat was saying it. He don't want to go there because everything is down the middle. Yes. Trust me, regarding Hudsall, there is going to be some positive news. There will be some positive news.
The Toulouse thing, I don't think they're any different. If Toulouse bring in 8 top quality players, then of course they're going to be able to compete a bit more than where it looks like Bradford and New York are going to be. But it's still going to be a minor miracle to do this level of recruitment to be able to finish out of the bottom 5, I think. But last thing I want to say on the expansion to 14 of the long term, I think I have to believe, and when people talk about the diluting of quality, that there are plenty of players, young, playing in lower tiers, or players who never got opportunities to play at the top level. I'm not worried about the having enough talent and standard of players to be able to be accommodated by 14 teams, because of what I expect to see, if let's say it stays at 14 for 3 years and beyond, there'll be more movement between teams. So it might mean that 1 or 2 players get offered better deals at these newer clubs, like what's happened in the NRL, and these teams strengthen over time with current talent. Because look, let me finish the point.
I don't think there is the talent.
Let me finish the point.
You've interrupted everyone 50 times.
All right, well, I'll finish my point, and then you say your thing. Look what's happening with Leeds with Bentley. So Bentley might rock up at Bradford, for example.
Well, he's 90% done to do it.
Yeah, and I think
your
Bradford and Toulouse will probably pick off. They'll pick off fringe players and some players who are top players at other clubs by making them marquee signings and offering more money. Will it give younger players more opportunity because there's more teams at that level to get the games? We always talk about Harry Smith. If you'd have judged Harry Smith on his first 5 games, most people would say he's never going to be a Super League player, but he got opportunity. The more teams is going to create more opportunity. Players who get released from Super League academies and reserve teams are now going to have 2 more clubs where they might be able to stay and have an opportunity to play.
We've not seen that.
Well, I'm hoping now that
only Clint so far has took on a few.
Yeah,
let go. So Clint's the only. To be fair to Clint, he's the only one that's signed. No, Bradford haven't. Toulouse haven't.
No, I'm saying over the next few years. I
disagree because I don't think that's. I think there is a void of talent in the sport. I don't think the answer is adding teams. I like that we've added teams, by the way, but I don't think that's going to answer that issue. I think we need to find a middle ground of a comp, whether it's the reserves, and they're now saying, is it confirmed that the reserves is going to be a 16 game league next year?
It's been the same this year, Joe, to be honest, because what they did this year with scholarship reserves and academy was, in the past you'd be playing week in, week out. It's always been
this year. That's what I'm saying. No, they said from next year. The rumour has it, but I've still not seen it 100% confirmed yet. That they're going to make it a week in, week out competition. I think without that, I don't think we'll ever fill that void. I don't think we can.
I agree.
Championship clubs don't sign.
That's me assuming that these 14 Super League teams will all have reserve teams. They'll all have academies. And ultimately, there's more spots available for progression and opportunity. And yes, we need good reserves.
I think we'd have to see.
The big problem with that is New York club's been really unlucky with it, I suppose, because of years. Bradford has, one thing I'll massively say, Bradford, you have supplied players to the game.
100%.
You've been the most amazing club losing them.
They're a top 5
because of bad management.
In terms of players currently supplying, the fifth for producing players.
And this is what your scary thing is. With Toulouse, I don't know how many Toulouse players are from Toulouse.
In the recent grand final, there was 5.
Catalans have obviously got better at it. Probably why they've not been as good, if you be honest, but at least it's the right process.
Yeah. The one out of the 3 going up, who is desperate for youth development is York. York need to get.
But they have a plan in place for.
No, I know they've got.
Well,
they lost AJ. They did lose a few, like you. To be fair, they have lost a few, haven't they?
It's nowhere near on the scale of Bradford.
No, but you've got history, mate. You've got history.
But York can't. If what I heard correctly is Clint's bought Newcastle, and Newcastle effectively are still going to remain Newcastle Thunder, but Newcastle Thunder. Are going to be taking a lot of York players. So again, I'm only speculating.
That's assuming. I don't know if I was
You'd expect a Will Dagger, a Taylor.
I was going to say to
Pemberton
Clint, fucking hell, have you thought about the reserves? Because if he's going to do, we know.
I thought legally
we know he's going to do that. He's got to fulfil the fit. Now it must mean that he's not having a reserve side because you can't fulfil Newcastle and the reserves.
I can only go off.
That's impossible.
I can only go off what.
He hasn't got the players. He'd need 90 players.
I can only go off what Clint was saying at the grand final.
He was 26 man.
He was saying York will be looking for a core 40 to 45 players.
Yeah, but I'm saying.
So I presume that is going to cover York's first team and the reserves.
They've not signed that many yet for free for reserves and
because that's going to be York's.
There's going to be a lot of players doubling up. If they're going to be able to service Newcastle reserves and first team, there's going to be a lot of those younger players playing for reserves.
Well, Taylor Pemberton's probably the one that I would look at, the young Saints kid who has played a handful of games for York. Lovely person, but not at that level.
I think it'd be impossible to do because
he's not
Newcastle.
I think Clint's hoping. I say I think because I don't know, so we might say Joe miles off here. So I presume or I think that Clint's going to hope to not do a reserves. That's just the obvious thing that he's got.
Well, he didn't mention the reserves. When we met him, he mentioned them too. So I'm thinking
York and Newcastle, Yeah. So if
he has to reserve, it's impossible because it's not champ one Newcastle now. It's Newcastle in champ.
Yeah.
So you've got no chance. It's not as if you can put a load of young kids in champ one and get away with it. They'll be hammered.
And that's the worry.
No, they won't be hammered because it's a merged league. I don't see any reason.
Well, if you did reserves as well, you've no chance. It's impossible.
No, I didn't know you were about reserves.
Yeah, of course.
That's what we're saying.
I know, but the last point was that we don't think he's having a reserves.
Well, they won't allow that. That'd be part of his grade. He'd have to have a reserve. So I don't know what
every Super League team has got to have. So next year, every Super League team's got to have.
I don't know if Clint's not known that. That's the thing I'm scared of.
You'll have to have a reserve, correct? Yes.
100%. All Super League clubs are having reserves. Yes. I didn't know it was all.
They have to. Yeah, well, that's why Lee made one just and they give.
But I thought clubs,
and it makes perfect sense to me with Catalans and Toulouse running their reserves in the French league.
Well, that's brilliant. But I thought clubs could still choose not to have them, even if it cost them some IMG.
Great question.
And that's, then
they get fined. Lee got fined, didn't they, for not having an academy that first year?
Well,
I don't know whether they paid it.
But if it's still a fine, then it's still optional. I don't know if it's you have to have him, or if you don't have him, you can be punished with points or fines.
Well, that's certainly something for me to do.
The long term, I'm not disagreeing with you, Joe, but my hope and aim is, and I believe that over the years, and not immediately next year, we will now have more opportunity with a better reserve system, with an expanded Super League, for opportunity for younger players to develop and make that we can service a 14-team top flight league.
Your problem is, I agree with you, but certainly two things that have to happen. One is your top clubs, your Leeds, your Saints, your Wigan would have to release them.
Not hard.
And not stockpile, which they've been very reluctant to if they've invested 10 years to get him there.
Yeah.
And why, as Bleasy said the other day, why the FNL should we let him go there when I'm saying it's best for his career, and he's saying, well, about for us. We've invested 6 years in him. So you'd have to have, I don't think that'd ever happen because I don't think they'd be able to release the numbers. In the real world, I agree with you. Could you take Leeds as top 6 20-year-olds and put them in another club? Of course you could. Would they all get in? Your Maxes, your Riley Lums? Of course they would. They'd be brilliant. And they'd go on to have long, serious careers. No doubt. But bottom line is Leeds are not going to do that. That's Alice in Wonderland. They're not going to say, oh yeah, take our top 6 or 8 players each year or we're not playing first team. So you've got the brothers, what's the brothers called? We've got loads stacked up there, and all there. Of course they were. Great point if you said, right, that block of 8, thanks Leeds. You're not going to
they have announced.
You're not going to get a fee, but we're going to take them all out.
Well, no, what they have announced to, I think, try push clubs do that. They've announced that cap dispensation for clubs that you give the lower league. So basically, if the Leeds, Wigan, all these ones that have a Kent Warrington or I'm not missing all, if they give players to the bottom 3 teams the team's coming up, sorry, not the
correct.
bottom
New
three.
teams.
They get captain.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Yes.
Fantastic. Who's
That was announced this week. That
was the
This week.
RFL, yeah.
You're not
yeah.
up with the news at the moment.
I'm not bothered then. It's not an ego thing. It's a brilliant
that's the
idea.
RFL,
Brilliant
yeah,
idea.
yeah.
What a great idea.
Well, then you'd hope as well.
Isn't Rugby League
to-
great since Nigel Wood came back?
If you counter that though, if clubs
Oh
are
shit, he's
trying
thinking
to,
Bradford again as well.
if clubs are trying to keep hold of these young ones, then I'd argue if you're going, well, we're not letting them tempt away these lads by offering them an extra 20 grand a year, and they have to invest more in keeping their top youngsters. When it comes to, let's use Bentley again as an example, are we then going to spend that on him? No, we're not willing to offer any more for you because we've got investment in these. So then Bradford come along and go, well, we'll give you 20 grand more, get over here, or York come along, and they start picking off the older or higher earners because there's investment.
I think as long as they won't do it, as long as the way they do it is if you what they've done is the compensation. If you pay 40 grand and then you're going to get some money, I'd want 40. If I developed a player and he's 22-year-old, I always say clubs should be paid the compensation. Always. It's the first thing I always say. I said, no, you should pay it. It's ridiculous. They should pay an higher fee if this is, if this young kid wants out and he's excited. What you can't do is allow a club to develop a player for another club because they can't do it. That's potentially a disaster waiting to happen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You've got to be seen.
York
have got to be seen to be trying to get some youth through. They've got to. Next 5 year, Bradford historically have always done it. York, we've had Miles, but we had AJ, we've had so many who you'd say, but only an handful. Toby, you'd have to. Would you claim Bachelor?
Wakefield,
whatever.
And all, but
So I think they've got to show an history. That'll be exciting if everyone can do that.
Yeah, the pressure is on York for that.
But York's plan, what they're trying to do, I think it's wonderful because in the situation they're in, yes, putting reserves to the side, I think that some of the signings being made and the plan, now that Newcastle are in this merged league where there's going to be, talk about blowout scores, the fixture list is going to be, depending on how they do it, I think it's perfect breeding ground for younger players with a couple of experienced ones who aren't made for first team to drop in and play at that level for development. It's absolutely genius. And guess what? It's the Aussie system.
If you did it and you dropped this is what I'd say if I were in charge. I'd probably drop the reserves. If I thought long term, I'd probably say, do you know what? And we know clubs are all tying in with these things. They're not saying it, but we know there's an unofficial,
starting to
probably look at then if I were going to do that, and now John Bastin would kill us for saying this because there's an ego thing, and I'm going to use the word ego to get me told off, but there's a thing of you won't believe how many times a club says we don't want to win out of our culture because it's that good, and you go, that's weird because I don't think your culture is that good, and you're demeaning where they're going to go. So are you getting me? The thought of a top Leeds player going to
Batley.
And the culture there. Oh my God. No. Unless you've sat there and watched it, which a lot of them don't do. They don't know what the culture is. Historically, the culture is very good. And what we talked about at the start of the show, the accountability. A top champ player will square a young lad up like you've never seen. What we talked about, the old school values, they don't get that at clubs. They don't get that at reserves. They get protected in reserve. Let's be honest. A lot of players your late director of football say he's a great player. Say, send him to Batley, send him to Dewsbury. Let's see whether we think he is that good. I know, me especially, when you're IDing a player, if he goes to championship and kills it under 21, you should be jumping off the roof. Instantly you've got a star because they don't do it. Historically, they don't do it. They go and get murdered. Yeah. So actually, I'd probably look at that model, what you're saying, if that's going to work, I'd have to have a look at, because you can't have York opt out of that. You can't have teams opt out of it. And pay a fine.
Choice.
You've got to then say, no problem, we either do it, which I've said 5 years ago, or don't do it. If you're not going to do it, perfect, tie up with the championship now is the best time to tie it up and say, right, we're going to tie
it. I think that were my point that we're thinking about, because the way to answer Jimmy, with the current system, they're not going to produce because the current system is awful. There's not a youth. Maybe Warrington because they won it, but that's just presuming that everyone slaughters the reserve system. The academy's got a chance because they play every week in the reserves, but after the reserve, if they're not a full-time player, after the academy system, they get lost. All of them do. There's you have to be a very good agent to help them manoeuvre, get them loans, work with the clubs, get friends with the all for effectively no cost for the agent, but just to give a young lad a chance in 2 years' time. That's the only way some of these lads ever have a career, whether they're brilliant or not. So I think the whole system has to change, and whether Clint's supposed new way with this Newcastle one comes it, fantastic. If they up the reserves and make the reserves a weaker competition where they used to do it, where a couple of old, fantastic. But something has to change, because there'll be a plethora of lack of talent, because there's a lot of championship lads know where they are. A lot of them work part time. They're going to struggle at 26 to do that jump. Why NFL players make the call on them, they get them in at 22 and they see where they're at. They give them the chance at the young age. Once they're past a certain age, they just write them off.
Mick, will Bradford sign? Do you think Bradford will sign any young players under 23-year-old?
No.
Jimmy?
For this coming year?
Yes or no answer.
For this coming year?
Whoa, you answer.
I don't think...
I'm answering my opinion. That's an opinion. Sorry, not factually. I'm not saying no factually. I'm saying no, I don't think they are.
It's certainly not the priority.
Based on the signings that I know who are in, of the 9 still to announce.
But it should. Why would it be? It shouldn't be their priority.
I'll be brutally honest.
They need to sign players who are ready to
actually compete. They need to sign both.
They only need to sign both if they know that they've got to be secure.
No, they do. You need to, as a system of creating a sustainable. To work a salary cap, you need to sign both. That's the issues of most of them.
If there's going to be relegation, all focus has to be on next year and surviving and not getting relegated. If they know they've got 3 years at it, like the York model, you need to plan for the future.
Lee even signed a couple of young lads, which is incredible for Lee. Everyone that have come up that have been successful have a good balance of both. They have the superstars.
Listen, the question was asked.
I want to try and answer it.
Yeah, please.
So, of the 10 players still to be announced, no. But do that Bradford need to sign young players when they've got Elliot Papoche, they've got Cameron Bay, who turned down the move from Wigan and Warrington to remain at Bradford. And that, believe you me, I spoke to Cameron Bay's parents, and the money that Wigan and Warrington offered him was substantial. He's backed himself to stay at Bradford and make a go of it in Super League.
Brilliant.
Joe's made a point. Jamie Gill, who absolutely marauded his way, ripped it up in League One with Dewsbury last season, to the point where he actually got rewarded with a performance at the back end against Featherstone. And I don't know if you watched the game, Joe, but he did not look out of place running into Jimmy Beckett, Brad Day, King Vuniyayawa. He absolutely was. I hope this doesn't get taken off YouTube, but it was like a pig in the trough in the shit kind of thing.
I think that'll be your standout player next year, Mick, if Jamie Gill gets the game with full-time rugby.
Oh, 100%.
He's going to be my shout. And I think he'll get a young player of the year nomination.
Oh, 100%. Jamie Gill, if he gets 4 or 5, 6 Super League games next year, he's in that George Flanagan, Harry Robertson Young Player of the Year territory. But yeah, fundamentally, I don't feel Bradford, because they've got all these young players, and I know you've signed Show Me the Money, have got a couple of the scholarship that are coming through. From what I see when I commentate and I watch the scholarship and the academy, yes, there has been instances where there has been a couple of heavy scorelines, but you see that at every level. But I am 110% seeing this next generation of young Bradford talent come off that conveyor belt. It's almost like not just the club and the first team back in Super League, but you're going to see now Bradford being able, in the past when those players have been picked off, West Bowling, of course, Bradford's community club, you see 4 or 5 of the top players there going and signing for Leeds. I think that will be reversed, and you will see those players joining Bradford, and this is all on that upward trajectory. But Craig, out of the 10 that I know are still coming in at Bradford, no, none of them are in what you call that 20-year-old kind of bubble.
23.
Yeah. But you have got...
we're talking about trying to hope that there's not blowout scores next year, and we've got to try and make sure these teams are as strong to compete immediately, So I know ideally, like Joe's saying,
No, not ideally. Factually, Wakey and Lee have signed young players.
Yeah, I know, but they also had time to recruit, and they built a bit longer and made massive signings with.
Bradford have known they were in Super League for 5 months.
No, they've not. No. I think
I disagree.
Only
Totally
once they
disagree.
got their IMG score, they believed that they would be in the top 12, and that's when they started recruiting.
I think the difference.
And it's hard, and I think, yes, long term, you get that perfect balance. And Bradford are thinking, well, we've got our all young ones, and these opportunities I'm talking about, Gill's a great example. Hopefully, he's playing Super League next year, and that's a wonderful opportunity. That Jack Smith, who were at Leeds, went to London, did champ for a year.
Now he's gone to
Now he's got a Super League gig. And whether these lads are good enough already or not, I don't know, but at least there's going to be opportunities for some of these younger players to have a go at it.
This is your big problem. We can wrap up on this one. OKR, Joe's made a massive point. OKR won a league on not having any academy or not signing any young players.
They went against what? Yeah,
100%.
The Hudson
And Joe said,
Whatever
won it. So they're saying it has to have 50%, whatever it is. So look at that figure. OKR have proved that not true. They're just going to trample on the back of Moneyball, really, and then getting Moneyball and then having billionaires who can top up Moneyball, which has been a great model. You look at what they do in the future, and I've said this to Paul, hopefully that they can produce their own now, the cat's off the back, they can give these players a little bit more time. Jimmy's right in a way that there is 40, 30 players. I've never been on the assumption that a 23-year-old, 22-year-old is not better than a 29-year-old. I've always looked at the player. I don't give a shit the age. We know these coaches will not play young players. So your DNA as a coach is, we know it, we all sit and deal with it every day. Some coaches have no interest in anybody under 20. Absolutely. They're the questions, I think, for us to have a big, and what Jimmy's saying, let these players from clubs, we have got enough players. We've all got the same point. We have, if you're the right coach to want to take it. When you're on about Wakey, Platty were a massive thing, what they did with Platty. They had Platty at Championship. Platty, and they carried on playing him. And Padley said, we're going to play him all year. They did. I thought that was the bravest thing ever for a promotional club to say, we will play him all year. They did. Corey Hall, who we took in, they played Corey all year, who's now developing into a probably 5th best. I think his next year could be a right chance to go in that next level, but we'll see. That's the thing. I think that is the model, and I think there's clubs who'll do it and there's clubs who won't do it. It'll be interesting how the 3 promoted clubs attain that, because historically we always know they do go for the 30-year-old. They go for the George Flanagan type, Big George, when he come back and they said George is tough, and that type George probably say, could I have played Super League? And he got his chance. I think that year he got his chance to go and play. What it for? Bradford in that year, wasn't it? The hooker. You watch young Flanagan here, Mick. What's happened?
Just keeping you at it, mate.
You watch young Flanagan. Young Flanagan's a prime example.
Yeah.
Let me finish. Bradford have lost him.
George Flanagan Jr.
He's now they're saying he's the top young hooker with Rooney in the game. Got a chance of playing fullback and playing that. He only got that because he got 25 games. That were it. They played him, and they got injuries early, and they played him. What's he called? The Leeds lad. Lola here. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, what's happened at the end of the year? Everyone's going Flanagan's next England fullback because he got that time. Hopefully that does happen, because we've got to see that, Mick. What we don't want to do as a product is see a load of 31-year-old has-beens just running about. I'm not saying has-beens, but you know what I'm saying.
And we're not, just to clarify,
you know what,
I'm not using York as an example, but what would you rather see? McShane, mid-30s, Ben Jones-Bishop, 37, 38.
Yeah, with the Platty, with the Corey. I'd want that mix.
Yes, I agree.
Always been between.
Because you've got players like McShane, Ben Jones-Bishop.
Learning them.
Been there, done it. Challenge Cup final, World Cup
100%.
final.
But I don't want to see. I don't want to see McShane with a 34-year-old hooker.
That's the one. Yes, I agree.
That's a perfect way to summarise, isn't it? Just pair them up.
And that Taylor Pemberton I used, the Saints Academy kid up at York.
He'll be playing for Newcastle mainly.
Yeah, I know he'll be playing for Newcastle, but he is a 9, I do believe. So he
could be in a better position.
Yeah, because of having working and learning every day.
Do you know one of the biggest things?
That's a smart move by Clint, Applegarth.
Yeah, one of the biggest.
At York.
When you're about Jez, you think about it, and he might not agree with this. Danny out when we had to leave because Danny had signed that no deal. We go there. We hated it that Parcell got another 2 years, let's be honest. We proper hated it. Me, Dino, his dad, and Jez, Dean were ringing me saying, mate, we're gone. Because Parcell got that new deal. Looking back, it drove Jez to the next level. Parcell's performances that year were on a scale that we couldn't get him. We couldn't get him. That's the truth. You'd look and me and Jez would be up for like, fucking hell. To be fair, Jez is playing well. So Jez is going, okay, now I'm going to have to go again here, and suddenly this machine, Jez knew when he got his chance, then he had to go up to 3 levels, because Parcell for 18 months, what best of Creek, he went right there. Brilliant, because Willie said, and I probably doubt with him at times, but I'll be honest, Willie said, as soon as he beats Parcell, it's all over. Jez will be our ruck for the next 10 years. He got him. They didn't give Parcell the deal he wanted. Jez become the number 1. He got the 9 shirt because that's the only reason we had that in the contract. He had to have the 9 shirt before the last deal. We had the 9 shirt come in at a certain time. I think that transition for Jez has been lovely, and that's why it's been so successful. What they need to do now is they need to get a young Jez who Jez can start working with, and Jez needs to learn the lesson, and he will do what Danny Outland never happened with Danny and Jez. They never got to work together. They never went on their own for hours at a time going through a video. Jez should now be saying, you know what? And people say, could Mikey or Jez go NRL? Well, they could if they invented another one of them, because they're able to get them 50 grand and they've got them on. So that's how it should work in a real world, if you want to know the truth. That's probably what should happen.
Well, this has been the full 80 minutes. Hopefully you've enjoyed an interesting, intriguing debate about obviously what happened last week. I know we have focused a little bit on Bradford, York and Toulouse. In other shows to come, we will look at the Championship and certainly some of the big clubs like Sheffield, London, Oldham, who have high aspirations of obviously following in the footsteps of Bradford, York and Toulouse. Don't forget, if you haven't already seen it, there is an Inside the Deal special with myself, Craig and Joe, where we look at Jack Sinfield, Jez Litton, Mikey Lewis, Ethan Ryan, Ben Jones-Bishop, Paul McShane, the Featherstone quartet of Ryan Hampshire, Carlos Tumavabi, Jimmy Beckett and Bailey O'Connor. Bit of a mouthful. And look out for our Ashes preview as well, which is also on Show Me the Money Rugby League. So yes, until next time, keep it real, keep it pure, keep it positive. Rugby League, over and out.